It's a great pleasure to be speaking with the chairman of Kenya Electricity Generating Company, Mr. Joshua Choge. Thank you, Chairman, for making the time today.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Chairman, this is the first time we're speaking to you on camera, and it would be really great if you could just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how you came to this position.
Thank you. My background actually is I'm a mathematician.
Oh, wow.
I did a Bachelor of Science in Chiromo in mathematics and statistics and a bit of computer science. But then I realized midway that I didn't quite fit into the planning at Herufi House, so I changed course and went to Strathmore and did my CPA. Then I joined East African Portland. And they thought not why I didn't quite fit into the accounting profession. So they took me to the UK. I was trained by the Chartered Institute of Purchasing and Supply, and I did procurement. So I worked with KenGen, with East African for over 10 years. Then I went into business. Actually, I'll say I made my money in the quarries.
In the quarries?
Yes.
Wow.
I was firing limestone for the manufacture of cement, and I was mining gypsum in Masailand and in Jeridende near Garissa.
My goodness.
So that's I did that for almost 16 years. Then I changed course and sold off the business, the truck business, and went slowly into the real estate and diversified into dairy. Now I'm a breeder of Frisian animals in Nandi County, and I also have a shop that sells spare parts for motor vehicles in Eldoret.
So you're an entrepreneur?
I am an entrepreneur.
And a farmer?
And a farmer. Yes.
Chairman, you're the only board chair running an NSE-listed blue-chip company with a lady at the helm.
Yes.
Of the corporate, and she's obviously doing very well. We're all very proud of her. But how do you describe your working relationship?
I'm lucky that we've worked very closely with Rebecca as the company secretary and director legal. And at that position, she was working very closely with the chairman. So I knew her quite well in those 4 years as when I came in from join KenGen as chairman. So the chemistry between me and her gelled very well, and she's a highly professional and thorough, and she's got very good work ethics and commitment to her work, and she beats deadlines. And so when it came to recruit, there was no choice really. There was no competition. Okay, she's a lady, but you can't categorize her as lady. She's just a professional. She's we call her a legal engineer because of she's worked in an engineering company for this long, and she's done a good job of it. So we work very well, and we don't have any issues. And yeah.
I saw that chemistry when I was at the earnings release, and I wanted to pick up on something that, I was listening to what you were saying that day when you reported the earnings and announced a dividend, and everyone, I was looking at the crowd, practically every stakeholder wanted to be associated with KenGen. And what I took away from there was you're very proud of the success of the organization in what has been quite a turbulent sector. What defines the success of KenGen in your mind, and what are the ingredients that have contributed to that success?
They say success has so many fathers.
Yes.
Failure is an orphan. So KenGen has succeeded, not because of any magic. We just keep it simple. Yeah. If you keep it simple, everybody understands, and then you allow everybody to do their bit and reward hard work, you begin to get results. And as I was telling the team, the management and the board, KenGen as I said it even when we were releasing the results, the chairman of KenGen is a Kenyan.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, the MD and the entire are all Kenyans. Management are all Kenyans. So there is there is no magic, and it's not that we lack talent and professionals in this country. It's just that they have not been given the opportunity. If you give professionals an opportunity to work and put in place proper systems and structures where the board that's why they're called a board. That's why I'm called a chairman. You do the chairman's job. The board does the board work. There is somebody called a CEO. There's a reason why they are called CEOs. And there's a management, and that's why they are called management, and so on. So if every sector, every portion of the structure does what they are supposed to do without interfering with the other portion, you get excellent. And that's what has worked in KenGen. And we want to thank the people who came before me, the previous board, the previous management. They put structures in place. We came and enhanced it and strengthened it. And that's why we're getting what we are getting. You're getting good results. I mean, we're doing all sorts of mega projects. Huge. But there's no single line of a scandal in it. It was tendered by KenGen. It was evaluated by KenGen. It was awarded by KenGen. Olkaria 5, which is about 40 billion, is 80% complete. We've not had any. It's on time. It's on budget. There's no variation. It can be done. Yeah, it can be done. It just takes commitment, hard work, and leadership.
And longevity, you're saying. You're describing an organization that's had it's not just been an overnight story, no, right? It's been consistency.
Yes, yeah. It takes time. It takes time. And consistency. It is not an overnight, it's not an event, it's a process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the vision of the board for KenGen, particularly about the project pipeline? You know, every year or every other year you're announcing what are very big projects. I think next week, Chairman, you've got the groundbreaking ceremony, the president's attending it. So what is the overall vision in your mind and in the board's mind?
One, we know we have the mandate is to produce affordable power for this country and generate reliable green energy for the country. That is the main mandate of KenGen, to also give the shareholders a good return on their investment, to offer opportunities to our employees to grow their careers and develop professionals and so on. But then we realized we are operating, the energy sector is highly regulated. So as a board, we have to think outside the box and create other income streams. And that's why we are talking of KenGen C, which is a wholly owned subsidiary that's going into other businesses, like offering consultancy, offering drilling services, training, especially in the region.
Yes, I saw you. Djibouti was one target.
Yes, yeah.
Are there other markets that you're?
We've already hosted the president of Djibouti in Olkaria, but the most important one is when we leverage on the partnership we have with Power Africa. When we were in a conference early this year.
This is the U.S.
In Washington, where Power Africa is saying, if they want to assist Djibouti, they want to assist Ethiopia to put up, especially the geothermal, there is no need of them bringing consultants from Iceland, from Berkeley in California or New Zealand, when we have the expertise located an hour away in Nairobi, which can be flown to Ethiopia, flown to Djibouti. So why don't you bring that money that you wanted to to assist Ethiopia, you want to assist Djibouti, and get the expertise from KenGen. It's more cost effective, it's more efficient. So that is the kind of partnership we're looking at, not only in Ethiopia, we're looking at Somalia, we're looking at Rwanda, even Tanzania and so on, where Power Africa is having operations, is we're going to be into partnership with KenGen C, which is our wholly owned subsidiary, to offer the expertise, and then the financing can come from Power Africa.
That's very interesting, because you know the whole idea of cross-border African trade, the Pan-African economy, it seems to me that you're at the front of that in terms of trying to you know, leverage that opportunity.
Yes. At the end of the day, we're in business.
Yes.
Yeah, KenGen is in business. we want to create wealth for our shareholders. We want to create value for our shareholders. And we have a lot of expertise sitting in KenGen. Some of them do retire.
Yes.
It's immoral. It's actually criminal to let somebody who you have spent millions training in New Zealand, in Iceland, to retire at 60, and he goes and looks after goats. We could retain that person in KenGen C and use that as a consultant. You see the beauty, if you bring somebody to train in Olkaria, you give him the theory, and after he's gotten the theory, you attach him. If he's an engineer, you attach him to a power plant. If he's a scientist, a geologist, you attach him to a geologist in the field. By the time he goes back to Djibouti, he's got the theory and he's got the practical, and he's able to run with the project.
I think the vision you're painting is very exciting.
It is.
Yes.
It's an interesting journey.
Yes. Can I turn to the board function? You know, what are the board committees? How do these feed into the entire mandate of the board to provide policy direction and governance of the company?
Okay.
You know, you can clearly see that it's been successful. So, you know, maybe we need to also export you to other.
Okay. Most people, maybe some boards have not realized the secret. Boards work best through committees, because you are not able to interrogate issues at the board level thoroughly. But when you have the committees working effectively, because that's when now the management go to the committees and they are able to interrogate issues so thoroughly at the committee level. And now if it's a human resource issue, if it's a finance issue, we have a human resource committee of the board, we have the finance committee of the board, but the most important one is the audit committee, because that's the one that troubleshoots, is able to notice the clouds that are gathering before they begin to rain. Yeah. So if the committees of the board are strengthened, then the board is able to work very effectively. Because if the head of finance goes to the finance committee and to the audit committee, and everything is tabled. If the procurement, we are doing mega projects, you do not want the board to be surprised. Okay, we are not in the procurement process, but we look at, there's a committee of the board that looks at those big tenders, above 50 million, before they are released, so that the board is not shocked 6 months down the line that this tender went through and you had no clue. So the procurement oversight committee of the board looks at those big tenders before they are released. And that way, we generally have a clue of what is happening in their company. And I tell my board members, you cannot oversight a business that you do not understand. So when the board, somebody comes to the board, we have a very effective induction program. Yeah, we have a very good induction program. So the board member goes through a thorough induction so that he can understand, or she can understand, the business. And after that, we do board appraisals. In the board appraisals, we are brutal to each other, even to the chairman. Yeah, the board members are brutal to the chairman, telling the chairman, you have a gap on this aspect. And therefore, we identify the training needs that the chairman needs. Then we take the chairman for training. If the board member has this gap, we identify it during the board appraisal. And now we prepare a training program for that board member so that he can be able to effectively contribute during our board meetings and be able to, when he's providing oversight, he's able to be effective in this role as somebody oversighting the management.
Wow.
And then people also begin to realize you are a board member. You are not management. So don't begin to assume the role of a management.
So let me ask you about that. You know, how's the board's relationship with the executive? You're describing a line and saying, look, we're not managing, but how do you manage that interaction?
Yes, very good. And that starts with the induction. Yes. I, for instance, my board members know. My management know. Even the MD knows. My role is to protect the institution so that the management, the MD and his team or her team are left to put megawatts on the grid. We shield the management from interference. And that's the role of the board. Yeah. We do not, and I learned this much. I say I'm lucky I went through, when I was in high school, I was deputy school captain of St. Patrick's High School, deputy school captain of Kuru High School. And especially at St. Patrick's, my headmaster.
This is Iten.
Iten, my headmaster, used to tell me, when, as this deputy school captain, if you find the prefect misbehaving with the students, you don't dress him down in front of the students. You back them, even if he's doing wrong, you back him up in front of the students so that he can have his authority. But if you dress him down and tear him apart, he'll not have authority. So I've brought it here, and I tell the MD, my role is to protect the office of the MD. I will not allow a manager to come and begin to badmouth the MD in my office or his directors. I'll protect that office so that she can have authority to management. And I tell her to do the same. When you find your finance director misbehaving before the managers, you don't dress him down. You call him aside, but you back him up before the managers.
The St. Patrick Iten philosophy.
Yes.
It's very interesting.
Same.
Yeah.
So the managers also, when you find a chief...
So they feel empowered.
Empowered.
Very interesting. Yes. You know, if you look at your business, and you know we've met and interacted, you have these enormous agencies, the Agence France, JICA, people who are really putting serious money on the table to back your organization, right? Okay. I mean, you know, this is not peanuts. This is like huge chunks of capital. What is the reason they're backing you? What do they see and what do they feel, and how do you engage with them? Because these are enormous tickets. You know, I can't think of another business that has such an enormous capex requirement as you do, and so many international stakeholders backing you in this area. What's happening there, and how do you keep them happy, and what do you think is the secret to drawing them all in?
They say in business, it's 5% hard work, it's 5% good luck, it's 90% integrity. Yeah. So if you have integrity, you're able to attract cheap capital, you're able to attract great staff. I mean, people are taking salary cuts from blue chip companies to come to KenGen because of integrity. So I'll give the example of Olkaria 5. In Olkaria, when a power plant is being done, there's normally there are 3 units. The steam gathering, which is lot 1, the power plant itself, lot 2, and then the power station, the substation, is lot 3. I'll give the example. On the 280 megawatt, which was done over 5 years ago, the lot 2, which is the power plant, cost us $200 million. That's about 20 billion. Olkaria 5, which is 80% complete now, 5 years down the line, because of our integrity and because the bidding was cutthroat, we were able to save $3 million. That's 3 billion shillings. 5 years down the line.
And that's a credibility
Yes.
improvement,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's because of those mechanisms that we have in place. People know that when they are bidding to do business in KenGen, it will be fair, it will be above board, and then the money we get, it will actually go towards the project. And in season, like now we did the 80 wells from Great Wall, we took a loan, we already organized ourselves. Next year, we begin to pay. And we don't fail, we don't default. So we built a reputation of integrity, of seriousness, that people trust us with their money.
It's incredible. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a huge confirmation, right?
Yes.
When people put money on the table.
Yeah.
You've got the AGM coming up.
Yes.
Shareholders, I'm sure, will be excited about the dividend,
Yeah.
and I'm sure they're all happy that you are paying that. What do you expect, and what is the message you're seeking to put to your shareholders who've really been by your side for a long journey? You know.
Yeah. We really want to thank them, especially in the last 2 years. At times when we were going to the AGM last year, we were fearing that shoes might be thrown our way. So as chairman, you do not know what to expect, because it was a drought of dividends for over 2 years. Although we were telling them, much as we're not able to give you dividends, you look at the appreciation in value of your shares. But this year, at least we have 2.6 billion shillings. We're telling them, for your patience, this is what we're able to give you 40 cents per share, and start translating to 2.6 billion shillings.
Yes,
and that is
I think the biggest payment you've ever made.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
quite substantial. And we are sincere. We told them last time, we are going into this big project. We need to contribute 15% towards the cost of Olkaria 5, and be patient with us. Time will come, we'll give you the dividends. Now it has come. But they are still seeing, much as we're giving the dividend, the projects are going on. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question about the share price. Is it undervalued in your mind? And what do you think the fair value is of the share price?
You know, we are operating a very unique business. Yeah. Where, as I said, highly regulated. Some of our assets, they don't really generate revenue. Like if you go to Masinga Dam, for instance, the Eastern Hydros, we own vast lands. And those we're just using for afforestation to keep the dams, to make sure that. And the PPAs that we have, for instance, for Masinga, they are about 3 US cents. But the civil works that we do in Masinga to improve it, so if we were ordinary business, we would now be negotiating for the PPAs so that we can get a proper return on the investment. But because they already signed a PPA, and we are 70% owned by government, the government shareholding is not traded, all right? Even the 30% that is supposed to be traded is owned by institutional investors. Most of those people are looking at long term. They are not out to sell shares to meet their daily needs. So that's why when the shares are not traded, it suppresses the price. And that's why we are leveraging, looking more to getting less of the retail investor and going more for the institutional investors. Like when we got the South Africans,
yes, PIC,
the pension fund to invest, and it kind of stabilized the share price. So we know our shares maybe could be a fair value, maybe about 14 shillings. Yeah.
That's 100% higher.
Yes, yeah. So we know that could be.
I agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
You were talking to me about stakeholder relations and telling me before we started the interview that you engage, that you like to engage with people on the ground. And obviously for a business like yours, where you got these big lenders who are very concerned about community relations, this is a big portfolio that has to be managed. So from your point of view, how does KenGen manage its communities, and what has proved to be the biggest challenge?
On our risk matrix, on the top right-hand corner, which is likely to occur and with maximum impact on the business, is community. And you know the power plant that was supposed to be coming up in Kinangop. I mean, it was not killed by anything. It was killed by lack of management of the community issues. Yeah. So we know if community issues are not well managed, it can kill or even delay a project. And when a project is delayed, it's very expensive for the business. So as chairman of KenGen, I take very keen interest, and as the board, we take very keen interest on community issues. And we put a lot of resources. And we engage at the grassroots. I spend a lot of time with the leaders in West Pokot, in Turkana, because of Takwel. I spend a lot of time with the leaders in the Eastern Hydros, the Mbere community, the Kamba community, and so on, the Turkanas and the Pokots and so on. But where we've spent a lot of time is Olkaria, with the communities there. We've even put resources. What helps KenGen is we have what is called a stakeholders coordinating committee, where we get the community at the village level to elect leaders, and we put them into a committee so that if there are opportunities, job opportunities, business opportunities, whatever, those opportunities are given to that stakeholders coordinating committee. And that community now distributes within the villages in an equitable way.
So this is economic spillover.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we've, for Olkaria especially, we've taken it to another level. We learned from the best. In New Zealand, the Maoris are the owners of the resource. They own the land, they own the geothermal fields. But they are partners with the power, the mighty river, the owners of the power plants in New Zealand. And they don't have issues with the community. So what did we do? We took the Maasais and the community and the communities in Olkaria all the way to New Zealand to see how the Maoris work with the owners of the power plants and what can they borrow. And we brought the Maoris from New Zealand to Olkaria and exchanged the views and so on, trying to make sure that there's harmony between the community and KenGen so that we can be able to drive this business. We take very keen interest on community issues because that's what can kill a project.
Let me come to the changing operating environment, devolution. Is it an opportunity? How is KenGen exploiting that? I saw yesterday an announcement that they might electrify the SGR. There seems to, I read an article by Tony Blair talking that the big opportunity is regional interconnection in the energy markets. How are you adapting to these moving parts?
You know, we've always been talking of, there's talk in the country that we are reaching a point where we have excess production.
This was actually raised in your investor briefing. You remember? Yes. I can't remember the gentleman.
Yeah.
Yes, and he's...
So, KenGen, being the biggest producer, we are keen on driving demand. And now, we've always been talking about creating demand. KETRACO has really led the way, and now we're partnering with KETRACO because that's an avenue. When we electrify the SGR, we're looking at about 1,000 megawatts going in that direction.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a huge increase.
That's a huge. We are looking at the industrial parks. Yeah. And with the new energy bill, hopefully, we'll be able to, the big bulk consumers, we'll be able to connect them directly. We give them cheap power, we give them steam, we give them water, and that way, we are talking of increasing our business, creating opportunities for our country.
Do you see the demand curve steepening now?
Certainly.
So because I think when I looked at it, the average was like 5-6%, but you can see a big acceleration there.
Because on the president's the agenda, the industrialization, the housing, and these are opportunities for creating demand. And certainly we know that the demand for power is going to grow.
We're seeing many IPPs. Is this something you support, or how do you relate to those entities?
Okay, you know the IPPs are coming into this country. They are coming to this market. It's an opportunity for KenGen because they don't have the expertise.
Yes.
Yeah. So much as they are our competitors, but somebody coming to Olkaria to drill, that's business for us. Yeah. We'll give them the drilling rigs, we'll give them the scientists, we'll give them, you know. So it's, I don't think we have too much fear that they will create too much power and mess up the market. Because the pipeline of projects that we have, we are still going to be the market leaders in the long run. Yeah. So we have no fear with IPPs. We just want to work with them. It's a business opportunity for KenGen.
Let me ask you a final question.
Yes.
Is the future bright?
Brilliant. Wonderful. It's brilliant. It's wonderful. In fact, for our shareholders, we wish them well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.